What if this is the year that everything changes, but only if you do? Most people walk into a new year hoping it'll be different, hoping they'll finally get discipline, hoping the universe will deliver something better than last year. But hope without action is delusion, and comfort disguised as patience is the reason so many people stay stuck for years, living the same day over and over, calling it a life. You don't need more time. You don't need another motivational quote. You don't need anyone's permission. What you need is to decide. Decide that this year will not be a repeat. Decide that your name, your potential, your legacy is worth fighting for. Decide that average is no longer acceptable. Because here's the truth. The clock is already ticking. Your window to change is already closing. And domination, that doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose. So the question isn't, can you dominate this year? The real question is, are you willing to pay what it costs? Not once, not sometimes, but every single day. In silence, in discomfort, in total focus. Because the ones who win at the end of the year are the ones who chose war on day one. This is your year, but only if you take it. No more waiting, no more watching. Dominate. You don't need a new year. You don't need a new year calendar, a new planner, or a fresh playlist to become who you were meant to be. What you need, what you've always needed, is a new standard. Because nothing changes when the clock strikes midnight. Nothing transforms just because the world says it's January 1st. What actually changes your life is when you decide from the core of your being that what you've tolerated is no longer acceptable, that the gap between your potential and your performance is no longer something you're willing to live with. We've all been taught to believe that the start of a year is symbolic. And sure, it feels nice to flip the page, wipe the slate clean, start fresh. But here's the truth nobody says out loud. The calendar doesn't do the work for you. Resolutions mean nothing without execution. And New Year, New Me is just noise unless you've got the discipline, clarity, and grit to back it up with consistent action. You want to dominate this year? Don't start by setting goals. Start by raising your standards. That's where real transformation begins. Because goals are about what you want. Standards are about what you refuse to accept. Goals sound like, I want to be in shape this year. Standards say, I refuse to live another year in a body that doesn't reflect my discipline. Goals say, I want to be more focused. Standards say, I refuse to keep letting distractions steal my future. See the difference? One is a wish. The other is a declaration. One hopes, the other demands. You don't dominate anything with wishful thinking. You do it by getting clear on what's no longer negotiable in your life. When you change your standards, you start making different decisions. You no longer allow your habits to run on autopilot. You no longer let your schedule be hijacked by people who have no stake in your future. You stop saying yes to things that drain you just to keep the peace, and you stop lowering your expectations just to stay comfortable. Raising your standards requires discomfort. It requires self-confrontation. You have to look at every area of your life, your fitness, your focus, your relationships, your finances, and ask yourself, what have I been settling for? Not what do I wish was different, not what do I want to improve, but what have I allowed that should have been cut off a long time ago? And then here's the hard part. You have to do something about it. You have to become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about domination, but lives in a way that demands it, that starts with doing the hard thing repeatedly, the unsexy things, the things that don't get applause, but build your foundation. You stop hitting snooze because your standard is being reliable to yourself. You stop scrolling for hours because your standard is focus. You stop over-explaining your boundaries because your standard is self-respect. This doesn't make you a robot. It makes you dangerous. Because most people can't even keep promises to themselves. Most people live on default. They act according to mood, not mission. And that's exactly why they end the year wondering why nothing really changed. But not you. Not this year. When you raise your standards, you don't need to announce it. The shift becomes obvious. It shows up in how you speak, how you move, how you respond to pressure. You become sharper, less tolerant of excuses, especially your own. You don't chase motivation, you operate from conviction. You don't need someone to hold your hand. You've already declared that this year will be different because you are different. You want to know who you really are? Look at what you tolerate. That's your standard. You can say you want greatness, but if you keep letting procrastination, comfort, and emotional chaos run your life, then your real standard is mediocrity, no matter what your vision board says. Standards are what you come back to when life gets hard, and it will get hard. You'll get tired, you'll get frustrated, you'll be tempted to quit. But if you've raised your standard, you won't. You'll remember who the hell you said you were. You'll remember that domination isn't about intensity once in a while. It's about consistency when it counts the most. So this year, don't make noise. Make a standard. Make a decision that mediocrity dies here. That whatever version of you has been showing up half prepared, half focused, half-hearted doesn't get to run the show anymore. Because you're not here to participate. You're here to dominate. And it all starts the moment you say, this is my new standard, and I don't back down. Everyone wants to win when it feels good. Everyone wants success when they're fired up, motivated, and inspired. But domination, real domination, isn't built on emotion. It's built on discipline. Because emotion is a wave. It rises, it crashes, it disappears. But discipline is the anchor. It's what keeps you grounded when everything else inside you wants to drift. If you only show up when it feels good, you'll never finish anything worth being proud of. Your life will be a graveyard of almost. Almost disciplined, almost consistent, almost committed. That's the trap most people live in. They confuse feelings with truth. They say things like, I don't feel like it today, and they think that's a valid reason to quit. It's not. You don't dominate the year or your life by doing what feels good. You dominate by doing what's required, even when it feels like hell. Every single day, you are given a choice. Will you be ruled by your feelings, or will you rise above them? Will you move because of your mission, or will you sit still because of your mood? This is the line that separates contenders from pretenders. This is what separates the one who talks about goals from the one who embodies them. The truth is, there will be days when you don't want to show up. There will be mornings when your alarm goes off and your body begs you to stay in bed. There will be moments when the resistance inside you screams louder than any outside obstacle. That's when discipline steps in. That's when the real work begins. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's not about being flawless. It's about being relentless. It's the voice in your head that says, we're doing this anyway. It's the action you take, even when your mind throws every excuse it can think of. It's the reps you get in when no one's watching. It's the decision to move forward when your emotions say retreat. You want to dominate this year? That won't happen in the hype of a New Year's resolution. That won't happen because of a vision board or an inspiring video. It will happen because you show up anyway. Even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated, even when you feel like a failure, even when life hits you so hard that you don't even know what day it is anymore. Discipline is built in the fire. It's forged in the moments when quitting is easier, but you refuse. That kind of strength, it isn't loud, it's quiet. It doesn't ask for credit. It doesn't need applause. It just shows up every single day. Most people are emotional creatures. They react. They bounce from one mood to another like a pinball, hoping that eventually success will hit them. But success doesn't show up to the emotionally fragile. It rewards the emotionally stable. The ones who say, yes, I feel this way, but I'm not letting it control me. That's power. That's control. That's discipline. You need to understand something. Your emotions are not the enemy. They're data, but they're not the decision makers. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you are incapable. Just because you feel discouraged doesn't mean your dream is dead. Emotions will pass, but the damage done by surrendering to them over and over again, that builds a life of regret. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you strengthen your identity. You tell yourself, I'm someone who finishes what I start. You wire your brain for resilience, and over time that becomes who you are. Not just someone who acts disciplined, but someone who is disciplined. Someone who no longer negotiates with laziness. Someone who no longer asks for permission from their feelings. Someone who owns every moment like it matters because it does. Domination requires that mindset. That no matter what approach, you don't get to say, I'll work hard when I feel ready. You say, I'll work hard until I feel ready. You don't wait for confidence. You create confidence through commitment, and that commitment is tested every single day. You have to build your own standard of excellence that doesn't require inspiration, because that's how winning works. Winners aren't always the most talented, they're the most consistent. They've trained themselves to act regardless of how they feel. They've made discipline their default, not their last resort. Yes, it will be hard, but you know what's harder? A life filled with missed potential. A life where you know deep down you had more to give, but you gave in instead. A life where your emotions dictated your destiny. So when the day gets heavy, when your heart isn't in it, when the fire feels like it's gone out, do it anyway. Train anyway. Write anyway. Push anyway. That's how this year gets dominated. Not through hype, through habit. Not through excitement, through execution, discipline, over emotion. Every single day, look around you. Who are the people closest to you? Who do you talk to daily, text, share ideas with, lean on, or spend time with when you're not working? That circle, your inner environment, is either fueling your growth or silently dragging you down. And here's the truth. Most people don't want to admit your life is a reflection of the people you spend the most time with. If they're small-minded, negative, passive, excuse-driven, or lazy, you will become that. You cannot dominate this year if you're surrounded by people who are committed to mediocrity. You can't elevate your life if you keep company with those who don't challenge you, sharpen you, or call you out when you're slipping. It doesn't matter how ambitious you are. If the people around you aren't growing, they're pulling you back. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to lower your standards just to keep the peace. That's not loyalty. That's self-sabotage. You need to audit your circle ruthlessly. No guilt, no apology. This is your life, your mission, your time. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're not here to keep friendships just because they're comfortable. Comfort kills drive. Familiarity breeds stagnation, and proximity to the wrong people can quietly kill the strongest potential. There are people in your life right now who will never clap for you unless it benefits them. People who secretly prefer you broken, average, and playing small because it makes them feel better about their own lack of effort. You need to recognize that. Some people only loved you when you were easy to control. The moment you start to grow, level up, get clear on your goals, they feel threatened, not proud. You don't owe anyone your potential. You don't owe anyone access to your mind, your energy, or your time just because of shared history. Shared past don't equal shared futures. You have to get honest. Who in your life pushes you? Who inspires you? Who's living with intention, purpose, and grit? And on the other side, who's always complaining? Who avoids responsibility? Who makes fun of ambition, mocks discipline, or calls you too intense for taking your goals seriously? That's not just talk, that's poison. The people you keep close either reinforce your values or erode them. If you're trying to be disciplined, but everyone around you sleeps in, skips workouts, and mocks self-improvement, eventually you'll fold, not because you're weak, but because influence is real. If you're trying to build wealth, impact, or a stronger mindset, but your circle laughs at your vision, you'll hesitate, you'll water yourself down, and you'll call it balance. That's how people die with regret, by keeping people around them who constantly remind them to settle. Now, this doesn't mean you need to walk around cutting people off with a sword, but it does mean you need to shift access. Not everyone gets to sit at your table. Not everyone gets a say. Not everyone deserves proximity to your energy, your ideas, or your time. You can love someone from a distance. You can outgrow people with peace and maturity. But if you don't protect your environment, you can't protect your future. If you want to dominate this year, you need people around you who remind you who the hell you are. People who don't let you make excuses. People who challenge you when you start slipping. People who are building something themselves. People who speak about growth, ownership, courage, and execution, not gossip, complaints, fear, or blame. You need conversations that make you think bigger. Energy that makes you want to go harder. Presence that sharpens your edge. because iron sharpens iron, and dull people dull your fire. And if you don't have those people yet, be that person first. Set the standard, show up with discipline, be focused, intentional, consistent, and you'll attract people who live the same way. Energy finds energy. But don't lower your standard just to avoid loneliness. That's how most people stay stuck. They keep bad company to fill empty space. But dominating your life sometimes means walking alone for a while until the right people catch up. And let's be real, sometimes the person you need to audit the most is you. Are you showing up as someone others should aspire to be around? Are you disciplined? Are you humble enough to grow, but driven enough to demand more from yourself? Are you living at the level you want to attract? If not, change that first. Lead by example. Your environment begins with you. So this year, audit your circle ruthlessly, without apology. Because who you allow into your world is not just a reflection of your current standards, it's a preview of your future. Let this be the year you build a circle so strong, even your doubts don't feel safe showing up anymore. Let this be the year you protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. No more justifications, no more blaming the past, your childhood, your boss, your ex, the economy, or even time itself. At some point, you have to step up and admit that all those excuses, they're just delays. They're lies we wrap ourselves in so we don't have to face the truth that we're not doing what we know we should be doing. And if you're serious about dominating this year, if you want transformation, not just improvement, then you need to cut the excuses out at the root completely. Excuses are a mental crutch. They're how we convince ourselves to stay in the same place while pretending that we're trying. They sound noble, they sound reasonable, but they're the barrier between you and every single goal you say you care about. Execution doesn't care about what's fair. It only responds to what's done. It's cold, it's honest, and it's the only thing that creates results. Think about how many times you've said, I didn't have time, when really you didn't prioritize it. Or I was too tired, when really you didn't have the structure or discipline to manage your energy. How many times did you say, next week I'll start, knowing full well you've said that 100 times before? You don't need another fresh start. You don't need more motivation. You need to eliminate the mental safety nets you've built to protect your ego. There are no saviors. There is no miracle morning that suddenly makes you successful. There's no secret routine or hack. The truth is uncomfortable. The only way to win, to evolve, to dominate your goals is to execute, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when most people quit. They tell themselves the timing isn't right or that they're just not ready, and they confuse that feeling for truth. But domination doesn't wait on your emotions. It doesn't wait until everything lines up perfectly. It begins now with what you have, where you are, and who you are. Execution is brutal. It demands focus. It demands consistency. It demands that you show up even when you're exhausted, unmotivated, and filled with self-doubt. It demands that you say no to the easy path and yes to the path that breaks you down before it builds you up. It demands you trade short-term comfort for long-term power. And most people just won't do it. That's what makes domination rare. Because most people want to feel good now. They want to protect their ego. They want the illusion of effort without the reality of pressure. They want to believe their circumstances are special, that their obstacles are uniquely hard, but they're not. Everybody has pain. Everybody has struggles. What separates the ones who rise is this: they stop telling stories about why they can't and start building a life around how they will. Execution means doing it without applause, without attention, without permission. You don't get to wait for support. You don't get to use lack of encouragement as your excuse for stalling. There will be days when no one believes in you. Maybe weeks, maybe years. That doesn't change the mission. Your job is to keep executing, no matter who's watching, because real power is built when no one sees it. Real growth happens when no one's clapping. You also have to kill perfectionism. Perfectionism is just fear in disguise. It's how we justify inaction by pretending we're being careful. You will never feel fully ready. You will never have the perfect plan. Start anyway. Adjust as you go. Execute imperfectly if you must, but execute. Because waiting to feel ready is just another excuse dressed up as strategy. The other crutch, blame. Let it go. Blaming your boss, your partner, your upbringing. None of it changes your results. Ownership does. Full, brutal, radical ownership. You may not be responsible for everything that's happened to you, but you are 100% responsible for what you do next. That mindset shift, that's the beginning of domination. When you stop asking who's to blame and start asking, what can I do about it? Everything changes. You want to be respected. Execute. You want to feel confident. Execute. You want to feel powerful, focused, fulfilled. It only comes from action, from waking up every day and doing the thing. Whether you feel like it or not, your life won't change because you meant to. It changes when you do. So burn the backup plans, throw away the crutches, stop waiting for things to slow down or for the right time. There is no right time. There is only this time, the one you're in, the one you're about to waste. If you don't move, execution over everything, not emotion, not perfection, not validation, execution. That's how you win. That's how you dominate. And that's how you take this year and make it yours. The spotlight isn't where success is forged. It's not on the stage, in the promotion, the win, or the praise. It's in the silence, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, and when no one cares. That's where your future is being decided, in the dark, in the quiet, when it's just you, your choices, and whether or not you show up when nobody's keeping score. Most people want results. They want the life, the body, the money, the recognition, but they want it to be visible. They want it fast. They want it to feel good and look good while they're doing it. They want the grind to be glamorous. And the truth, it's not. The real work is done in the invisible spaces. It's waking up early when your body screams, no. It's studying while others sleep. It's staying disciplined when your motivation's gone and your doubt is loud. That's where your future is being shaped. Not someday, not later, right now in the dark. The dark is where you meet yourself. Not the version you post online, not the one you present at work, but the raw, real, unfiltered version of you. And that person, that's the one who either gets it done or makes excuses. That's the version who either owns their habits or hides behind distractions. The dark doesn't lie. It reveals, it shows you who you really are, and it shows you what needs to change. This is where most people tap out. They want progress, but they're not willing to commit when no one's cheering them on. They think if it's quiet, it must not matter. But the quiet moments are the most important. They're sacred. They're the proving ground. The dark is where your mindset is molded, where your standards are tested, and where your grit is built. Anyone can show up when it's easy, but the ones who dominate, they show up when it's brutal. They don't need applause. They've already made up their mind. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. And your preparation is built in the dark. That's why most people fail. Not because they didn't have talent, but because they didn't prepare. When it was time to grind, they coasted. They waited for motivation. They gave half effort behind the scenes and then expected full results in public. But the future doesn't reward the lazy. It rewards the relentless, the obsessed, the quiet workers who grind like the world is watching, even when no one is. That workout you skipped today, that early alarm you snooze, that hour you waste scrolling instead of building, none of it feels like a big deal in the moment. But it compounds. Every choice in the dark echoes into your future. And what feels small today becomes massive. When it adds up, you want to dominate the year, then you have to dominate the moments no one sees. You have to train like the future is counting on you, because it is. Consistency isn't sexy. It's repetitive, it's boring, and it's hard. But it's also the secret. While everyone else is looking for shortcuts, the successful are doing the same things day in, day out without fail. That's how habits form. That's how self-respect builds. That's how momentum takes root. The dark doesn't reward you immediately, but it never forgets. It watches everything, and when the lights finally come on, when it's your time to rise, it'll show. And when they ask how you did it, how you stayed focused, how you stayed sharp, you'll know you trained in the dark, you chose discipline when no one else did. You didn't just want to win, you prepared to win. And that's the difference between people who get lucky and people who get legendary. One waits, the other works. Here's the brutal truth. If you're not training in the dark, you're not training at all. If you're not showing up when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or unglamorous, then don't expect to shine when it counts. Because the spotlight is not a place to become great. It's only a place to reveal what's already been done. You don't need more attention. You need more action. You don't need more validation. You need more reps. And you don't need to prove anything to anyone except yourself. That's what the dark is for. It's the gym for your mind. It's the forge for your spirit. It's where you become someone you're proud of. So ask yourself, how are you spending the hours that no one sees? Are you sharpening yourself? Are you building the life you keep saying you want? Or are you wasting time waiting for motivation to strike? The future belongs to those who grind in silence, to those who trust that what they do in the dark matters. Because when the moment comes, when opportunity knocks or pressure hits, you won't have to rise. You'll already be ready. Your future is being decided now, not next month, not next year, not when you feel like it. It's being built in every invisible decision you make, every quiet discipline you choose, every excuse you reject. This is the work. This is the way. And if you commit to it, you won't just change the year. You'll change you. This is your year, but only if you take it. No more waiting, no more talking, no more planning without execution. You've said someday long enough. You've let fear whisper lies and let comfort steal time. But that version of you, the one who hesitates, who second guesses, who needs permission, doesn't get to write the next chapter. From this moment on, your standard changes. You don't chase motivation. You build discipline. You don't adapt to your emotions. You command them. You don't walk into this year hoping to win. You train to win. You prepare to dominate. And when the lights come on, the results won't surprise you because you already earned them in the dark. There are two kinds of people at the end of every year, those with excuses and those with results. Be the one who chose results. Be the one who didn't flinch. Be the one who decided to dominate and did. Because this isn't just another year. It's your proving ground. Dominate it or be dominated. You choose.